Okay, recording is in progress. Namo Om Vishnu Bhattaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swam Tinamane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasisha Sunyabhari Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Let's get the mantra right. Hare Krishna. So if anyone's watching this recording, welcome to you as well. Hare Krishna. Welcome, Abharaj Kishore. Welcome to Tuesday, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10. Today beginning text 6. So let me share the screen as is usual. Share the Bhagavad Gita. You can see? Oh God, what's happened on my screen? Oh. You can see Bhagavad Gita?
Yes.
Great. And you can hear me clearly, I presume, because you heard that question. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, so the last week, and I think also the week before, we spent quite some time going through this verse here, describing all the qualities, everything more or less, all the qualities of living beings are created by Krishna. Welcome. Even negative, could we say, death, fear, it is all coming from Krishna. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt, and delusion. So then we systematically went through each of these, discussing it. And then I think we just read through the last couple of paragraphs just to make progress into text 6. All right. So we're beginning with text 6. Still devotees coming in. Welcome those who just come in. Sodami Radhika, Anupama, thank you for being with us. Now, here comes someone else. Another Gayatri. All right, so I was just reading through this text 6 just now and the purport. And there's an interesting thing to point out, but I'll do that after we've read through it here. So also for those who don't know, we're just approaching, this is text 6 of the 10th chapter. And we might not get to it today, but text 8 we might do as well. Text 8 begins what's known as the Chatur Sloki, which is considered to be the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita, the most important part. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 verses coming up. So, all right, so let's have some volunteers to read, or at least one.
I can read.
Please go ahead. Thank you, Mother. So text 6. Yeah, have a go at the Sanskrit.
Yes, okay.
How it comes out. And then translation.
Mahasaya sapta purvi jata vastatha madbhava manasa jata yesam loka ima prajaha. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. Purport. The Lord is giving a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Brahma is the original creature born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord, who is known as Harin Garbaha. Harin, am I saying this right?
Hiranyagarbha. Yeah.
Hiranyagarbha. And from Brahma, all the 7 great sages, and before them 4 other great sages named Sanaka, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara, and the 4 Manus are manifested. All these 25 great sages are known as the patriarchs of the living entities all over the universe.
That's pronounced patriarchs.
Patriarchs of the living entities all over the universe. There are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe. and each planet is full of population of different varieties. All of them are born of these 25 patriarchs. Brahma,
Yeah.
patriarch. Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years of the demigods before he realized by the grace of Krishna how to create. Then from Brahma came Sanaka, Sanatan and Sanat Kumara, then Rudra, and then the 7 sages. And in this way, all the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are born out of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is known as Pitamaha, the grandfather, and Krishna is known as Prajitamaha, the father of the grandfather. This is stated in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 11.39.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. So Krishna's carrying on much in the same vein as the last verse. But here, I just read this from Burijan's commentary. And he, by the way, he bases his commentary, if you can, it is a commentary, he bases it on the acharyas as well. But anyway, here he says Krishna's position cannot be accurately ascertained through the qualities born of goodness, or by sages, progenitors, and their descendants. So that's why Krishna's mentioning these patriarchs, these sages, etc., because they cannot, even they, born of or situated in a mode of goodness, that's not the qualification for understanding Krishna. And then Burijan goes back to confirm that, just to reiterate that. He goes back to a purport in text 2 of this chapter. So I'll just read that. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. No one is greater than him. He is the cause of all causes. Here it is also stated by the Lord personally that he is the cause of all the demigods and sages. Even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. Remember, that was the verse we read. They can understand neither his name nor his personality. So what is the position of so-called scholars of this tiny planet? No one can understand why this supreme God comes to earth as an ordinary human being and executes such wonderful, uncommon activities. One should know then that scholarship is not the qualification necessary to understand Krishna. And one more little bit to read. Here the Lord indirectly says that if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, here I am, present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Excuse me. I am the Supreme. Any blessings?
Krishna bless you.
Yeah, thank you. One should know this, although one cannot understand the inconceivable Lord who is personally present. Any blessings?
You kept having so many blessings. You have to give it to us.
Yeah, I'm coming down with something. Okay.
Don't.
One should,
Bless you. Bless you, bless you, bless you.
oh, thank
There
you.
you are, Madhumangal. See?
I was waiting for. One should know this, although one cannot understand. Well, 2 people are waiting out there in the cold. Let's see who they are. Oh, I can't get to them. 1 second. Oh, they're going to have to wait a couple of minutes. Here I am, present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am supreme. One should know this, although one cannot understand the inconceivable Lord who is personally present. He nonetheless exists. We can actually understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, simply by studying his words in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. All right, let me try and get to those waiting outside. Okay. Mavalabanga's waiting, and Radha Shamashunda. Hare Krishna. All right. So, how can we understand Krishna?
But they were saying there that no one knows why Krishna comes to planet Earth. I think he comes because of the gopis, isn't it? And the love of the Vrajavasis.
Yeah, this is the point we want to bring out. Yada yada hidamasha. Let's come down a bit first before we get to the gopis. Yada yada hidamasha glani bhavati bharata abhutanam tadatmasta sitsadami shujami ham pritnaya sadunam unashyata duskatam damasam sapanataya sambhavami yuge. So damasam sapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. So we have done exactly what Prabhupada has recommended. How do we understand Krishna? Simply by studying the words of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we accept. Now, the reason I bring this out, because we may have, or we may not have, it may not be that Krishna may have revealed all these, that he is the cause of all causes. But in one sense, we don't need to, because we accept on faith coming from Guru who is Krishna and why he comes. So that means a devotee. So we can explain why, we can explain to some extent Krishna's position and why he comes, because we are devotees and we've dedicated our lives to Krishna and we accept the Bhagavad Gita. But it seems like within the universal, within the patriarchs, the leaders of universe, etc., Krishna may not be so easily understood or so easily comprehended. That's why when he does come, then it's the devotees who actually understand and reveal the truth of his manifestation. Anyway, I don't know if I'm making sense here, but just homing in on this point that this verse is mentioning and carrying on from great patriarchs, great, here, what was it, number 6, yeah. Progenitors of mankind, Manus, yep. That's not necessarily the qualification for understanding Krishna. Okay, they're situated in the mode of goodness, but that's not enough to understand Krishna. That's going to be explained in the next verse, how to understand Krishna. All right, so just thought I'd make that point just to begin with. And then if there's any questions or comments here, and if it's not clear.
Is it allowed to make a comparison to say that devotees have more love than Lakshmi Devi or something like that?
Well,
that's a bit.
Anyone would like to answer that?
Wow, that's a bit heavy, Madhumanga.
I don't know, just a question, like attachment, devotees are so attached to Krishna. I mean, the gopis are, but then devotees.
Well, how would Lakshmi stay on Krishna's chest or feet, whatever, whichever Lakshmi? What would she have done?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mav Chandravali. That's exactly my line of answering would be. Yeah, perhaps that example wasn't the best.
No, I was thinking if Krishna always come here on planet Earth where devotees are, it means it's a lot of love. Where always, I know it has Lakshmi Devi with him and he's served by millions of Lakshmi Devis, but then he still comes here.
Yeah, it's true. But Lakshmi is not Lakshmi is a devotee. She is one of us. All right.
I understand.
She's one of us, and she has quite a unique position compared to us. We can only say she has quite a unique position. But as we know, Lord Chaitanya and Chaitanya Charitamrita has this interesting, loving disagreement with one devotee. I forget his name. One South Indian devotee in South India, about the position of Lakshmi compared to the gopis, and how even Lakshmi wanted to have the association of Krishna. So that's our whole story. So we our whole
To go in
direction.
the rasa dance, but she couldn't go in the rasa dance.
Yeah. So okay, Lakshmi compared to the gopis, well, anyone compared to the gopis doesn't do very well. The gopis in a category of their own. Yeah. But still Lakshmi is a devotee. So yes, Hare Krishna. So anything else from here? Oh, then we can read text 7. So this is gonna explain. It's gonna introduce. It's been introduced before. The principle of obviously of knowing Krishna. So, someone like to read text 7?
I try.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
एतां विभूतिर्योगं च मम यो वेति तत्त्वतः स अविकल्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Purport. The highest summit of spiritual perfection is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one is firmly convinced of the different opulences of the Supreme Lord, one cannot engage in devotional service. Generally, people know that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. Here are the details. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. When one factually knows the opulence of the Supreme, there is no alternative but to surrender to him. This factual knowledge can be known from the description of in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures. In the administration of this universe, there are many demigods distributed throughout the planetary system, and the chief of them are Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the 4 great Kumaras, and the other patriarchs. There are many forefathers in the population of the universe, and all of them are born of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original forefather of all forefathers. These are some of the opulences of the Supreme Lord. When one is firmly convinced of them, he accepts Krishna with great faith and without any doubt, and he engages in devotional service. All this particular knowledge is required in order to increase one's interest in the loving devotional service of the Lord. One should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is, for by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service.
Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. So let's go back. Sorry, moving around here. Right. So sometimes I think we've questioned this. I mean, some of us here we've done quite some study together. Especially, we've studied a book like Sudha Bhakti Chintamani. We've studied, which goes into quite some detail about the philosophy of Krishna, and we're reading also the Sankalpa Kaumudi, and we've read Nectar of Devotion. What other books have we read together? We've read the Nectar of Instruction. We've read Isha Upanishad. We've read the Harinam Chintamani.
Venu Gita.
Venu
Gita.
Dempita? Sorry, say again?
Venu Gita.
Venu Gita, excuse me. My hearing. Venu Gita. And there's lots to know. And sometimes the question is asked, do we really have to understand all this detailed knowledge? Yeah. So here, what Prabhupada is saying in the purport, saying yes. Now, obviously, if we already have developed, or one is already has awakened their natural relationship with Krishna in spontaneous love, then this is a detail. For example, we have the residents of Vrindavan. For this will be a detail in comparison to their spontaneous loving attachment to Krishna. All right. So let's just presume we're not on that platform. Yeah. So therefore, it's good for us to, at least to the best of our ability, to try and understand the details about Krishna. And that's why we're all here now reading Bhagavad Gita as well. That's why you're all here. Yeah. Because Prabhupada says all this particular knowledge is required in order to increase one's interest in the loving devotional service of the Lord. One should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is. For by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service. Yeah. So the more we know about the Krishna, the Krishna, the more we know about Krishna, then the more we can be fixed in devotion. The more we're fixed in devotion, then we can develop our natural loving attraction for Krishna. Was it? There's one song. So I've got all these songs going through my head from before I joined. But to know him is to love him. That's as much as I remember of it. Yeah. So that's why hopefully we like getting together and we like hearing about Krishna. Even though sometimes the philosophy is quite lofty sometimes, still we should lend an ear and try to understand as much as we can, which you want to hear. That's why also we're recommended to regularly attend classes on Bhagavatam, isn't it? Daily if we can. Yeah. So the more we know about Krishna, then the more we can become fixed in devotional service. Yeah. And here, now just a commentary here, being said here. This is speaking about Ananya Bhakti, okay, which is unalloyed devotional service. So let's just look here. Yeah. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. So looking for the word for unalloyed devotional service is avikalpena. So that means without division. Yeah. All right. Any questions or comments about this?
What is without division? What does that mean?
Yeah, that means unalloyed. It means that one is not worshipping demigods, one is not, etc. One is completely dependent upon and focused on the worship of Krishna as one's maintainer and he who gives all sustenance. One has complete faith in Krishna and Krishna alone. So without deviation. Yeah.
That means no speculation, just as it is. Take as it is what your guru says.
You could say that as well.
So that's one. Unalloyed could also mean that without any material motives. Does that total?
Yeah, this is a word that Prabhupada used, and to help us understand this, why he used this, there's a good where Prabhupada one time he was on a morning walk with his disciples, and it was part of it was an industrial area. So looking up at a billboard, there was an advertisement and it said unalloyed steel. So Prabhupada pointed it with his cane, says, yes, this is what we want, unalloyed.
It's not mixed. The metal doesn't have other metals, like gold, you could mix it with copper to make jewelry. So it's mixed. So it's alloyed.
24 karat pure gold.
Yeah, so that's what Prabhupada said. Yes, this is what we want, unalloyed devotion. So that means just like unalloyed steel means it's just steel. There isn't anything else in it. So unalloyed devotional service. It's an interesting word, unalloyed. It's not alloyed. It doesn't have any alloy in it. It's just as it is. Yeah. So, yeah. Does that answer? Is that okay? So it sounds a bit like circular reasoning. Anyone understand the principle of circular reasoning? I explain. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power. Okay, so to be factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power, factually convinced, then it indicates the practice of unalloyed devotion. All right. But from one who is factually convinced of this opulent and mystic power, then the result of that is that they engage in unalloyed devotional service. All right. So at least as we just read in the previous verse, at least we accept on faith what is told to us by the devotees of the Lord about Krishna. And then we engage in Krishna's devotional service. And then we develop to the level of unalloyed devotion. Yeah? Because that's described in the Bhagavatam as well, chapter 3, canto 3, that our devotion at this point maybe, may not be, it may be alloyed. It may not be unalloyed. But as we hear more, as we associate with devotees, then gradually, our devotion can be unalloyed. And that's when Krishna will reveal more and more about himself to us. So in other words, so then it just continues. So the more you know about Krishna, then the more you become devoted to him. The more you're devoted to him, then the more you know about him. It's kind of, it's an increasing, ever increasing circular, if I'm making sense. Yeah, the more you know about Krishna, the more you engage in devotion. The more you engage in devotion, then the more you know about Krishna. Like that, you know. I don't know if I'm making things more complicated than what.
It's very clear.
Yeah.
All right.
So is it
That means
very-
we're churning the same thing again and again.
We're churning the same thing again and again. Yeah,
All comes back to Krishna.
that's it. Yeah, hopefully, you know, we're reading now. When we read Bhagavad Gita, say we read it in 10 years from now, it'll be more profound than what it is now. If we read it 5 years from now, I know at least that's my experience. We're studying Bhagavad Gita together here now, and I can't even recall how many times I've read Bhagavad Gita. I think Sadami Radhika was with us during the Friday night readings of Bhagavad Gita in a temple. I think we must have read
15 years ago.
Yeah, I think I read through Bhagavad Gita about 25 times in that forum,
Yeah.
you know, but still I'm reading it now and it's like, wow, it's like amazing. So that's the spiritual principle as in comparison to the material principle. So yeah, so what is that? You just keep on churning it, as Mother Raj Kishore said. Yeah, just like you churn, we're just churning. Just like when I was churning the milk ocean, the demons and the demigods, then all types of things come out. So good and bad. So that's part of the devotional practice as well. As we churn the
Deeper
active.
realization, isn't it? Deeper realizations.
Yeah. The faith becomes deeper, the realizations become more profound, and the holy name gets sweeter. We can say that as a poem, no? It only gets deeper and the holy name becomes sweeter. This is devotional service, which is in quite drastic comparison to the material world. It doesn't get sweeter, does it? Does the material world get sweeter?
No.
It gets more bitter. The taste of it becomes more bitter. You know, the more it becomes more bitter.
If there is no Krishna, of course it's bitter, but when as you get more service, as you got more knowledge and more classes like this, life is so sweet. I just even don't want to die.
Yes. Don't worry, you won't die. There's no death for the soul. Yeah. So spiritual life, yeah, if we practice spiritual life and we hear about Krishna, it just Krishna, unlimited Krishna is possessor of unlimited sweetness. Yeah. Madhurya Krishna. All right. So we're going to make it to the Chatur Sloki because it begins in text 8.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Any questions before we venture into the Chatur Sloki? Perhaps not, because we might not get there.
I was thinking.
No, if there's any questions. Sorry?
I was also thinking that it's so important to try and understand what you're reading. You know, Gauranga Prabhu was saying even word by word, it's good to read that as well. You know, I tend to skip that, but
Yeah.
you know, so you understand. And with the understanding, with the knowledge, you can practice a bit better. You know, when you hear classes and when they saying one word in the class or something, and how they put the meaning to it, makes it easier to understand.
Yeah. And as said, yeah, and hopefully, well, some of us may be in a position, but hopefully not. But circumstances might be that sometimes you are listening to less classes, you are associating less with devotees, you are reading less, you may be chanting less, and you can feel it. You can feel the difference. You can feel the difference, you know. But please don't try it at home just to feel the difference. Please don't try it. Let's just keep on hearing about Krishna every day. All right. So, unless there's any further comments, we can go on to text 8. So again,
I can read that. Sorry.
yeah. Okay, go ahead. I think it's a bit of a. Let me just check Deep Purple quickly. Not so long, couple of pages.
It's long. Well, we can stop in between, can't we?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Just because
So
I know that's why.
yeah. So again, this is the first verse of the Chatur Sloki. If you're not into learning verses, but you don't mind learning 1 or 2 verses from Bhagavad Gita, or 4 verses, these are 4 verses which should be good for you to learn. You know, the Chatur Sloki. Chatur Sloki of Nectar of Devotion is Anya Bilas the Sanyam Gyana Kamari Anavritam Anukulena Krishnano Silanam Bhakti Uttama. And of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think it's a different word, but
Aham evasam evagre, but I don't know the whole. I just know that one line.
yeah, you're right. Correct. Yeah, thank you. I was going to say the wrong verse actually. Yeah, that's Brahma's revelation of Krishna and his instructions. Yeah, that's there. That's the Chatur Sloki of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's another word called the Paribhasha Sutra. All right, a bit technical here, but Paribhasha Sutra is a sutra or verse by which if there's any anomalies, any contradictions that seems to be there, then you go to the Paribhasha Sutra for the correct understanding. Right, so giving you a bit of back to Sastri type presentation here. Like for example, sometimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's Shiva is addressed as Bhagavan. Yeah, because of his position of so it may be sometimes confusing. So therefore the Paribhasha Sutra of Bhagavatam is Eche Kamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indriyani Vyalokam Mitagenta Yuge Yuge. So the Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So Krishna is the origin. Yeah, so that's the Paribhasha Sutra. All right. Okay. Before I go off the direction completely, let's read text 8. And we can comment as we go in the purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Text 8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samamvita. Translation. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worshiping me with all their hearts. Purport. A learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literature agree that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, Gopal Tapani Upanishad 124, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vedadati Purvam Yova Vedamscha Gopayati Sma Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in the Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again in Narayan Upanishad 1. No, I cannot say all that.
Just read the English, it's okay.
Says, Then the Supreme Personality Narayan desired to create living entities. The Upanishad continues, from Narayan, Brahma is born, and from Narayan, the Patrichis are also born.
Patriarchs, yeah.
Also born. From Narayan, Indra is born. From Narayan, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayan, the 11 Rudras are born. And from Narayan, the 12 Adityas are born. This Narayan is an expansion of Krishna.
All right. Just for your information, it seems like Prabhupada is taken a lot from, in his commentary, he's taken a lot from Baladev Vidyabhushana, who also quotes these same verses. All right. So this verse is good to know, especially next time you're at Sainsbury's and you're in a shopping queue and you're arguing with someone who is Supreme Krishna or Vishnu. Highly unlikely you're going to have that conversation in the supermarket, but just in case you do, then you might quote this verse saying how, yeah, Krishna is the source of Vishnu. Okay? Papa will quote this verse in that regard. Everything emanates from me. All that is spiritual and all that is material. And then as a confirmation, this Narayan is an expansion of Krishna. Yeah. I am the source of all spiritual, everything emanates from me. So this is one such verse you may pull out if you're having an argument with your grandma or your granddad or your uncle or whatever. It says there, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. All right. You can read on. Unless there's any other questions, please make yourself known and unmute. Put up your hand. If not, we can read on.
Okay.
Still there?
It is said in the same way that Brahmanu Devaki Putra, the son of Devaki, Krishna, is the Supreme Personality. Narayan Upanishad then it is said, in the beginning of the creation, there only the Supreme Personality, Narayan. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no fire, no moon, no stars in the sky, no sun. Maha Upanishad 1. In the Maha Upanishad, it is also said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. Thus the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. In the Mokshadam, Krishna also says that
I've lost where you're reading from. Have I gone too far in the page? Are we still on the previous page?
On the next page. Third
Okay,
page.
go on. Carry on. I'm trying to.
No, Murli Prabhu, she's here. So below the shloka, the patriarch Shiva.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank
The
you.
patriarch
Hare Krishna.
Shiva and others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me, because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In the Varaha Purana, it is also said, Narayan is the supreme personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born. Lord Krishna is the source of all generation, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says, because everything is born of him, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me. No one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master, with references from Vedic literature, engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna conscious with determination and firmness.
Firmness. Okay. Any questions or comments?
Can't get more final than that.
No, can't get more conclusive than
Yeah.
than this.
Yeah.
It is quite a debated subject you find in the Hindu pantheism. Even there is, supposed to say Shiva is. I was reading an article just recently. I can't remember the details, but it was an article explaining how Shiva is the supreme, and everything is Shiva rather than Krishna. But anyway, here it is. As said, it can't be. It's explained here. An interesting that verse, Narayana, etc. Just go back, just for your interest, see how Prabhupada formulates his purports for your interest. This verse here from Narayana, you see this one here?
Mm-hmm.
You see, this is the verse. This is not part of the verse. Prabhupada puts that in. Yeah. But the verse says that Narayan, everything comes from Narayan. Yeah. So then Prabhupada puts this. This Narayan is an expansion of Krishna. And then here, Baladev writes, in this verse, so Prabhupada's quoting Baladev, he says, in this verse, Narayan means Krishna because of statements in later texts, such as Brahmanyo Devaki Putra. Brahma is the son of Devaki. Anyway, getting a bit technical again, but yes. Krishna aham savarsha pabhavo madatava bhavatate. And so this just want to read something here as well. Yes. So describing the bhakti belonging to the highest ekanta devotees, so one-pointed devotees, in 4 verses. So the bhakti of the highest devotees is being described. The Lord begins by describing his own true nature. And why is he doing that? Because it generates and nourishes bhakti. That's why he's describing this. It nourishes, it generates and nourishes bhakti. Aham savasha pabhavo matasavam bhavatate. All right. So hopefully we're feeling nourished, generating bhakti and nourishing bhakti. Yes. All right. Anything else we want to bring out here? Okay. If anyone does want to study this in detail, I think I've mentioned before, don't mind if you heard this before, but there was one devotee friend of mine going back many years, and he's kind of gone on a different track. last time I met him, he was stating quite strongly that Vishnu is supreme and Narayan is supreme. So we had quite some discussion. Unfortunately, his temperament was such that the discussion couldn't really progress nicely. It was a bit of a passionate discussion. So unfortunately, it didn't really come to conclusion. But he was quite factually, and because he spent time in South India with the Sri Vaishnavas and listening to their lectures, etc. So he actually came to the temple with a mission to convince us all that Vishnu is the supreme. Anyway, without going,
he did a good job. He did a good job. It looks like.
Well, he got banned from the temple in the end. I won't go into details, but I have affection for him. He's always a bit like that. He's always got something. But this one. So hearing it, we had our discussions. So I really wanted him. He was quoting some verses as well. He learned about 10, 11 verses from the Vedas, So I had to be on my toes a bit. And I was getting ready for my next meeting with him. So I did some study, and I've got the Sandarbhas by Jiva Goswami. And there's one Sandarbha that's dedicated to this. And the arguments he brings up is just totally amazing. It's just totally wonderful. The whole Sandarbha, page after page after page, proving that Krishna is the supreme. First, he brings in all the arguments which are there for Vishnu being the supreme. And then he takes them to pieces, bit by bit. Anyway, so if any of you are having a discussion with someone like that, actually, you don't need to go to Jiva Goswami. You just need to come here. You just need to go to Prabhupada's purport. And Prabhupada is given what the Goswamis are given, but he's giving a much more concise, wonderful way. So you don't have to wade through all such books. It's here. It's quite clear in Prabhupada's purports. Yeah. Who is the supreme?
Murli Prabhu, is it okay to just leave them to what they think? I have this, they come Shiva. I just say, okay, you just carry on what you're doing, and then sometime you will, and just leave it there in that conversation. And
yes, it is.
Their journey to pick whenever they're ready, the right things will come.
Yes,
we have to emphasize and have an argument and show that from scriptures, or just say, okay, you're right. And just leave it there.
Yes, that was my conclusion.
Prabhu, I want to share one. About 50 years ago, to our temple, it was evening, and came Lutheran, like priest or something, to the temple. Iconas, Lithuania, yeah. Lutheran Protestant.
Okay.
Yeah? And he was very aggressive. He wanted to prove something, but it was our ladies who were sitting in the evening and had chat, and we didn't want to be disturbed. We didn't get, so we called him Brahmachari. He was very much like you, Prabhu, I'm sorry, but he was very nice. And he took him upstairs in the room to talk. And after we were talking about 1 hour. And when he left, he was like different kind of creature. He was soft, gentle, polite. He said, hello, ladies, bye-bye. And that's it. And he left. And we asked what happened. He said nothing. But after some time, that man came back again.
Okay.
And he was very nice. He said, no, I didn't become Krishna Hidhat. He said, I'm still what I am. But it helped me to become better in my religion, to understand. And we noticed that he was coming more often to our festivals, and he made friends with Krishna devotees, and he became very friendly. I don't know what's happened, because I left after some time. I left Lithuania at all. I came to the UK, but he was coming. He kept coming. And that's what I want to say, that it depends who are you talking to, because that our devotee, he was very much like you, soft, polite, gentle, and he made the best experience for that guy, because he was very aggressive. He came with lots of arguments with that were terrible. I can't remember, but it was very ugly. But after talking,
who was it who spoke to him? Who was it?
No, to Lithuania.
Oh, Lithuania. Oh, this is Lithuania. Okay, with you. Okay. Yeah.
That's why it's important who you are talking to.
Yeah. So you can see the results.
Yeah, it was pure devotee, so that's why.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, yes, Mother Sodom Radical. So, yeah, it's maybe more if it's going to disturb our mind too much. If our mind's disturbed, then our bhajan's disturbed. But if it's in a formal setting, if you're giving class and you're challenged that way, then you should establish the Siddhanta. Yeah, you should not shout, but you should speak on the principle that Krishna is, you understand? So if you're in that situation, if you're giving a Bhagavad Gita lecture in the evening, then you should want to make it clear to everyone who's there what we say, what Bhagavad Gita says. All right. So that, but if it's informal, then you really it's probably, most times it's probably not worth it. Just let them, give them some samosas, give them some prasad. All right. Anything else from here? Yeah. Papa, only a fool will consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. Abhajananti mam buddha manasam tanam asvatam. That's Krishna's words directly. Right. Okay, so text 9. So we've got 10 minutes left. Let's read text 9. This is the Chatusloki. Some of you may have heard these from there. Although it starts in text 8, 9, 10, and 11 are the more well-known verses. Yeah. So let's just give 1 second before we go there. Here, the next 4 verses, Chatusloki or Bhagavad Gita, which includes 8, summarizes the entire Gita. In text 8, Krishna sums up his opulences and explains the results of truly knowing these opulences. One becomes a pure devotee, so that one becomes a Ekanta Bhakta. In text 9, we're reading now, he describes how pure devotees worship him. In text 10 and 11, he describes his reciprocation with their loving worship. Yeah, so that's text 9. So let's have someone take us through text 9.
I can, Murli Prabhu.
Go ahead, thank you. Wow, big purple. Hare Krishna. Oh, sorry, I missed the Sanskrit. Let me go back. Okay, go ahead.
Madchinta madgata prana bhutayanta parasparam katayanstu cham mam nityam tushyanti cha ramayanti. I forgot the meter. What's the meter?
That's correct. That's correct. Matchita makata prana bodhayante parasparam.
Param katayanta cha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha.
Correct, yeah. Okay, let me just move the page. There you go.
The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Purport. Pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotee are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees.
Shall we read the whole thing? I guess we should, because we won't complete it otherwise. So let's just read the whole purport, and we can discuss in the time we have left. And if not, we can carry on tomorrow discussing this. Okay, carry on.
In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they're actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe. And out of them, there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is like a seed. It's just like a seed. And if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That seed fructifies. Just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering, the spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahma Jyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also, that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is Golok Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as a plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in the love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations of the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees. As stated in the Bhagavatam itself, 12, 13, 18, Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amala Yat Vaishnamam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized soul in Krishna consciousness takes continuous pleasure in hearing such transcendental literature, just as a young boy and girl takes pleasure in association.
Okay, thank you. Was that a wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada?
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
There's quite lots. Prabhupada has condensed the whole sublime philosophy of Krishna consciousness and its developing stages. He's really condensed it in a really wonderful way here. Now we just have a couple of minutes left. It seems like what is really expanding on really beautifully a purport, an excellent commentary by Baladev Vijayabhusana. But before we read that, it's short. Is there any immediate questions that strike you or anything that needs to be clarified here? There is so much here, but as you was reading or listening, was there any thing that grabbed you that you want to inquire about? But the whole thing was just very sweet. Let me read this here. You can see how Prabhupada is expanding wonderfully, it seems here. So this is Baladev Vijayabhusana. This verse describes the process of bhakti. The devotees are absorbed in remembering me, mat chitta. So chitta means mind, isn't it? Mat chitta. They cannot maintain their lives without me, just as fish cannot live without water. Makkata prana. So the life heirs, yeah? Maintain their life. Prana. They revealed to each other my form, qualities, and beauty. Bodhayanta parasparam. Yeah. Was it? They derive great satisfaction and bliss. Oh, yeah. Always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Yeah, this is a verse. We did that little promotion video for our Bhakti Sastri. And as I was quoting this verse here, they speak about me, an ocean of affection for the devotee, and about my extremely variegated pastimes. In this way, by worship in the form of remembering, hearing, and chanting, they are satisfied, tusyanti, as if drinking nectar, and they enjoy or relish this, ramanti, just as a young boy enjoys the smiling glances of a young girl. Right? Interesting example at the end. All right. So, any final words on this? Let's check the time. It's 7 o'clock.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah, this teaching. This is, I think it's teachings to Rupa Goswami about this plant of devotional service, this Bhakti Lada Bija. Yeah. Bhakti Lada Bija. Yeah. And this is going on all while the devotee is present on earth. Within their consciousness and with their devotion, they are penetrating the layers of the universe and entering into Goloka Vrindavan.
So
And then
essentially, they can do it from here. They can be in Vrindavan from here.
Yes, of course. To actually go there, actually, I'm not trying to say, to actually, you have to go there before you go there. So we become absorbed in Goloka Vrindavan through the medium of bhajan and the holy name. All the mellows of Vrindavan become revealed to the devotee. Yeah. And then that's why Prabhupada says, he says, ultimately, so he's referring to, I think, what's this called? This stage is called apana das. This is what it ultimately, the plant will take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rest there. That's actually going back to Godhead. Yeah.
Prabhu, would you like to take us all together to Vrindavan or sometime, just to organize trip together, you know? You could explain,
Would be great.
you could enjoy. It would
That
be
would
amazing,
be-
just being together with each other.
Are you asking
God.
Golok Vrindavan or are you asking Goma Vrindavan?
Anywhere. Just we
Yes,
to be
Modi
together,
Prabhu.
with association, to get association.
All
Bhoma.
of us.
Bhoma. Yeah, let's see. Hare Krishna. And I guess we're over time. But let's continue tomorrow. Let's what you can do, if there's anything in this, if you have time, if you remember, you can look through this, and if there's anything you feel you want to and we can try and expand upon, then we can look at this purport tomorrow again. Yeah. If not, I guess we're all eager to get to text 10 as well, you know.
So,
All
Prabhu,
right.
you're taking us to Vrindavan.
Yeah, next week. Next
Thank you,
week.
Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for giving us an
Hare
opportunity to read these wonderful words of Krishna and Prabhupada's purports. And let's get together tomorrow and we'll just continue with this Chatur Sloki.
It's so
Okay.
nice, so many, 17 today joining.
Oh, great. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We feel honored that you're here listening. Hare Krishna. So please join us tomorrow. And we'll continue, as Mother Raj Kishore said, churning it.
Feeling blissed out now.
Yeah.
And I will put less questions tomorrow.
Oh, more questions, more
Maybe.
questions.
Maybe.
More questions. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much.
Jai. Gaura
Jai.
Prem.
Hare Krishna.